Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
This episode of Agency Bytes is brought to you by Ignition, the platform agencies use to stop chasing invoices, kill scope creep, and get paid on time every time. With branded proposals and automated billing and payments all in one place, Ignition helps you boost cash flow and scale without the admin chaos. Start getting paid on time at ignitionapp.com. Use code OUTSIGHT25 to save 50% off on monthly Pro or Pro Plus plans.
Welcome back to Agency Bytes. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the business of their dreams. This week's guest needs pretty much no introduction, but here we go anyway. Drew McLellan has been in advertising for more than 30 years. After launching McLellan Marketing Group in 1995, he went on to co-own and run Agency Management Institute with his wife, Danielle. Through AMI, Drew helps thousands of small and mid-sized agencies grow profitably, attract better clients and talent, and actually enjoy the perks of ownership. He's also the host of the Build a Better Agency podcast, a sought-after speaker, and the author of several books, including Sell with Authority. It's really great to have you here, Drew.
No, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. So you've been running AMI for quite some time. You've built a massive community. Super, just love seeing what you're doing, and agency owners that I interact with that are members there, have just nothing but amazing things to say about you and the content and the community. What was the evolution from taking your agency and saying, I'm going to do something different for you?
Yeah, well, I sound like one of those hair club commercials, but I started my agency when I was 30. So I was that perfect combination of arrogant and ignorant. I thought, how hard can it be? And then I realized how hard it was and what all the things I didn't know. And so I sought resources and bumped into an organization that was the precursor to AMI, started by an agency owner who had shut down his shop. And he was a financial guy, really. And so he taught a couple workshops and he had a couple peer groups. So I joined one of the peer groups and it completely changed the way I ran my business. I finally learned how to run the business of my agency. So fast forward 10 years. And he was probably in his 70s by then. And he was like, I'm ready to retire. I think you're the guy. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, well, I think you should buy AMI from me. And back then it was called something different. It was called AMR, Agency Management Roundtable. And he said, I think you should buy it. And I was in an interesting place in my life. I've been a single dad most of my life. And until Danielle and I got married. And, my daughter was getting ready to go to college, and I knew I'd been looking for something to do that would sort of, occupy my time. And at that time, AMR was this tiny little thing. It was a couple peer groups and a workshop. That was it. So it was like a side hustle. Mm-hmm. So I bought it, and I started thinking about all the things that I could do with it. And so it just started growing on its own, and it's sort of taken on a life of its own. And in many ways, the community drives it today as much as we do, in terms of what we do next and what we offer and how we bring people together. And, we have a firm belief that we learn better and faster when we learn together. And so we let the community sort of drive a lot of the new material we produce, the content, the offerings, the workshops. And, today we're at, 15 or 16 peer groups. We don't facilitate them all, but we have virtual ones and live ones and the workshop. And of course, the podcast, and then the conference every year, the Build a Better Agency Summit, which is coming up on year 6 in May of 2026. Wow. So it's just evolved into this ginormous thing that honestly, if you would have asked me back when I bought it, what I thought it would become, it wouldn't have been this, it would have been much smaller in my vision, but it's sort of taken on a life of its own.
The momentum just kind of helped it become what it is now, and you kind of graciously became the facilitator of that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, COVID was a big turning point for us. I produced content every single day of COVID, and I I don't think I've ever worked harder in my entire life than I did that year. Just talking people off the ledge, just being available, doing live Q&As. We were one of the first ones to teach agencies how to apply for PPP loans. I mean, we were in it up to our elbows. And I think that really grew the community in terms of just being a trusted resource and a place where people could confidentially and confidently talk to each other in a way that agency owners don't always have a place to do that.
Yeah, when we create that space for them, and I run a few mastermind groups and a small Slack channel, and it's maybe 45 people, but constantly the feedback is I needed this space to really talk about what's going on with me without fear of judgment, with support and unconditional. And there's other communities like that, and I think that's invaluable. And so the fact that you're able to foster that and provide that space, yeah, I love that for them.
Yeah, me too.
You, like myself and probably most of your members, you were like an accidental agency owner.
Of course.
You didn't go to school to run an agency. So
Great.
That's the track path there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And most of our members fit that profile. They didn't go to school to run a business, and they grew up in an agency, and at some point in time, for some reason, hung up a shingle, even if they thought it was temporary while they were looking for a job, because all of us have been laid off at some point in time, probably in our career. And all of a sudden they've got 5 people and they're like, wait a second, I've got to figure out P&L and payroll and things that I didn't know. And so, yeah, I would say probably 5% of our community are intentional business owners who happen to buy or start an agency, but 95% of them, it's the other way around. They're agency people who happened to start a business.
Yeah, same. So from your vantage point, running MI, interacting with thousands of agencies, what are you seeing as like some of the biggest challenges that they're struggling with today, and some of those also other side? What are some of the biggest opportunities?
Well, it's interesting. I think the challenges are the opportunities. It's just a matter of what attitude you take into it, right? So I think one of the biggest challenges / opportunities is staffing today. So the agency owners that still long for the good old days where everybody's a full-time employee and under a roof, actually 5 days a week. We still have agencies that do that.
Yeah.
That's a challenge for them because the workforce wants something different. But I think the opportunity is you can custom create a team that truly is hardwired to serve your clients' needs in a variety of ways, and in some more cost-effective ways, with full-time and part-time employees here in the States or whatever country you're in, but also global talent and, virtual and hybrid. And I think there's just opportunity to create a new kind of great workplace. Doesn't mean that it's easier. Doesn't mean that it's less expensive. I think that's the fallacy. I think a lot of people gave up office space thinking they were going to save a lot of money. And then the smart ones realize that they have to spend that money to bring everybody together so that there's still that FaceTime and that connection with each other. So I think that's one of the challenge / opportunities. AI, obviously, everybody's talking about it all day, every day. So sort of reinventing how we serve clients. And, long before anybody was talking about AI, even though we were all using it, we just weren't calling it that. The shift had already come that clients were tired of paying $175 or $200 an hour for something they could do on Canva, and they were finding cheaper ways to do it. And the agencies that clung to the deliverable model as opposed to the strategic model are struggling and have been struggling since COVID. And so the challenge is I want to sell what I want to sell, and nobody wants to buy what I want to sell. The opportunity is, how do I reinvent myself to be even more valued by a client so that I get back up to the C-suite where I want to be, and I don't want to just be making stuff. And I don't want to be, I don't want to have a discussion about how many hours it takes to make stuff, but I just want to be so valued for what I know that, of course, they're not going to have that important meeting without me at the table. So again, I think and so AI in some ways hastened that, much like COVID probably hastened the employment situation, but they were both coming anyway. Right. So I think there are some life things that happen that speed up the inevitable. And, we're because our industry is always on the front end of whatever is coming, we're trend setters, we're trend storytellers. We are the ones that recognize trends and make trends. And so, of course, our industry is going to be a little more bumpy because we're on the front end.
Yeah, and I think because of that, we're one of the most volatile, right? You see it when the economy gets shaky, the first thing that gets cut is marketing and advertising budgets. And when conversely, it shouldn't be cut because these are great opportunities to get in front of audiences and do the marketing that separates them. But you started to talk kind of about what I frame up as like the strategist versus the task taker, and niching and, talk more about that. What's your position on, generalists versus niching and service versus industry niching, and how you feel about all that?
Yeah. So anybody in our audience probably thinks the word that comes out of my mouth the most is the word niche. I don't think you'll survive to 2030 if you're not a specialist in something. So, in our world, we define niche as you're either a niche in an industry, and most agencies define industry way too broadly. So, I'll say to somebody, what's your niche? And they'll say B2B. I was like, it's not niche.
Right.
That's half the world. So no,
right.
Even healthcare isn't a niche. It's too big.
Right.
So it can be an industry as long as you go narrow enough. It could be an audience like, boy, we understand, the Hispanic market or the millennial mom market or whatever that is, or, women over 50 who use pharma products, whatever it is. Or it can be a deliverable. The challenge with deliverables, and I'm sure you're seeing this too, is, I can remember when there were a bunch of social media agencies out there. They don't exist today. I can remember when there was a bunch of Amazon marketplace agencies. They don't exist today. Today, the hot thing is we're an AI forward agency. They're not going to exist in 5 years.
Right.
So you can niche in a deliverable, but you have to know that window is super narrow. Marketing has gotten too complicated to try and convince someone that with a staff of 12, you can be a full service integrated marketing agency and have everything under your roof and be brilliant at all of it. No, the clients, we do research every year, and the clients tell us year after year, when an agency says that to them, the BS meter goes off in their head. They know it's not possible. So we have to stop saying it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't do everything for everyone. And so, I'm a big fan of, choose the verticals that you specialize in, and you could be more general in the service and in the delivery and things like that. But one or the other needs to kind of be honed in on, or I agree, man, the generalists won't be here. I think I say niche probably too much also.
I don't think we say it too often, because if we would stop saying it if people would listen to us and do it. Right. So, we're getting ready to redo our website. And so we're cleaning up all our content. And one of the people on our staff said, my God, we talk about this, that, and this a bunch. And I was like, because everybody hasn't done it yet. Right. We have to keep talking about it because everybody's not on board yet. So, I know we repeat ourselves, but I know why we repeat ourselves. So,
Yeah, because it's not done yet. I get that. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I don't
know about you, but some agency owners that come into our world for the first time have been doing it for 20 years, and others have been doing it for, 20 months, and they need very different things from us. And so you have to keep repeating the same blocking and tackling. And I'm sure you do too, because, for some people it's new.
Yeah. And the things that apply for, 100%. But also I found that the things that apply for a new agency can also apply for the old agency and vice versa. It's just a matter of the stage of their season that they're in. Absolutely.
Well, it's kind of like we were talking about before, right? It's not all the old owners who are exhausted by the change. It really is about the attitude and sort of the vision of the leader of the agency or the leadership team of the agency. And so they all mature. I mean, it's like people, they all mature in different ways and different time spans. And so one of the fun things about the work that we get to do is, you have to figure out sort of where they're at in a bunch of different places before you can diagnose what they need. They all need the same stuff sooner or later, but not at the same time and not in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Fully agree. Yeah. The discovery and diagnosis and kind of path forward is definitely very unique for each agency. Leadership is different. Ownership is different. Ownership values are different. What are you seeing as far as like the role of the agency owner evolving in the next few years, 3 to 5, 10 years out? I hate to say 10 years. I feel like that's an eternity, but even,
Yeah, it's hard to
3 to
know
5.
what's going to happen in 10 years, right? I think owners, I think the majority of owners aren't doing their job today. I think they grew up in an agency and it's so easy to default to doing what you were good at, which is either account service or strategy or, creative directing or whatever your shtick is. And it's so hard to take yourself out of the work, which by the way, you probably love doing, right? And you're super good at it and you're super fast at it. It requires no heavy lift from you at all. So you have easy and fun on one side, and then you have hard and new, which is, the financial metrics and the numbers and business development and mentoring people.
Right.
You can understand why a lot of them stay in their comfort zone and don't move over into the role that they should be in. But what I will say to an agency owner all the time is, who do you think is doing your job if you're not doing it? So these are the things that are not being done. No one's talking about the vision of the agency. No one's being innovative. No one's growing your team. No one's thinking about new business. No one's making sure you're making money. All those things. Are they sexy? No. Are they why any of us got into the business? Probably not. But when you decided to step into that owner role, that's where you need to be. So it's not even about where the role is evolving. I just want people to actually do their freaking job.
Yeah. Or delegate it out to somebody that's going to do it for them, put that role in place and step aside and let them do it and trust them to execute. But yeah, that transition from like being the practitioner and I'm a designer to now I need to wear the CEO hat and have the vision or delegate things out to the right people. Like that's a growing up process that a lot of owners fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Like I when I owned my agency, I wanted to do design work, and it was there a point where I was like, the team was like, Steve, when you do this goes wrong, and we missed this opportunity, and this doesn't happen. Stop doing design work. You hired people for it, and so like they taught me what to do. My coach did at the time as well, and I have plenty of agencies that I coach where the owner's like, in our discovery and in that first few months of working together, they're like, I really want to do the design work because I love doing the brand development or whatever. Cool, let's build the business around you being able to do that as well, but know that you still need to do vision and biz dev or have somebody or systems in place that can do it for you. So if that's their priority, I'm good with it, but let's know that that's the direction we're going in.
But also know that there's a ceiling to how big your agency can get. B,
absolutely.
Odds are you're not going to sell your agency.
Right.
You're going to close it down when you're done. And again, these are choices. Agency owners take a lot of risk, and so they should enjoy every freedom that they have as agency owners. They just have to make sure they're informed decisions. So I'm with you. Like if you want to design all day as the agency owner, more power to you, but recognize these are the consequences of that decision. You have to be okay with that too. You don't get your cake and eat it too.
Manual billing, late payments, scope creep. If your agency's revenue is leaking, Ignition can help. It automates proposals, billing, and payments in one platform, so you close deals faster and spend less time chasing money. Simplify billing and get paid faster at ignitionapp.com. Use code OUTSIGHT25 to save 50% off on monthly Pro or Pro Plus plans.
Yeah. There's sacrifices. It's and you want to do this, cool. You might not be able to do that. Talk about like some of those blind spots that you think leaders are coming up against when they are building this agency of like something that could be sustainable.
What we see, we do a lot of M&A work. And so when we're doing valuations and things like that, what we see often is that the agency owner has not spent the time to really think about 10 years out, 5 years out, 3 years out. What do I need to be doing to ready the agency to be sold or to even be sellable? I mean, not even to be sold, but to be sellable. And so
be attractive to a suitor. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Whether it's internal or external. And so a lot of times somebody will reach out to us and say, you know what, I want out in a year or 2 years. And when we go in and do the assessment, we're like, I hate to tell you, the only way you're getting out in 2 years is to pick a date and close the door because nobody's going to pay you much for this. And here are the things. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes agency owners make, we actually teach a one-day workshop on how to get your agency ready to sell because they don't understand what influences the valuation, what buyers do and don't want, and their role in the agency is a big part of of that. And by the way, the other thing they don't do, and I don't know if you're seeing this with the agencies you counsel, but they don't pay themselves well enough. How agency owners compensate themselves in all the ways they can be compensated, pass-throughs and all the other things, really has a huge impact on the valuation of their business. So often they stay overstaffed. They don't pay themselves so they can pay somebody else. They're literally taking money out of their kids' hands and giving it to somebody else's kids, but they don't think about it that way. But they just sacrifice so much thinking there's going to be a big payday at the end. And what they've done is they've diminished the payday. Right. So compensating yourself well 10 years before you're ready to sell and making sure that you never miss a paycheck and that you're taking dividends and you're maxing out your 401k and you're running a healthy amount of business expenses through his past, all the things really actually has huge impact on the final chapter.
Yeah. Talk about, so without dumping your full M&A one-day workshop into a 10-minute podcast, what are some of those other key things that you see buyers are looking for that agency owners could really start thinking about? Oh, I'm not doing this and that.
Yeah. So they're looking for, if somebody's buying an agency, they're buying it because they think they can make money. So again, they want to know how much money the agency owner has made over time. So number one, that's a big one. Number two, they want an intact leadership team that can run the agency when the owner steps away, because in theory, the owner is selling it, so he or she doesn't have to be there anymore. So they want as intact and as experienced a leadership team as possible, who has already proven that they can run the business without mom or dad stepping in to save the day all the time. They want a new business machine, right? They want something that fills the pipeline at all of the different phases, that is not personality driven, or, you and I meet at a bar and I buy you a drink and now we're buddies. And so I sell you something. That's not the way we sell anymore. They want an agency with a niche for sure. They want an agency that does not have a client that's more than 20% of their AGI. They don't want a gorilla client. Those are some big ones.
Yeah. Do you see
and by the way, that's how we should be running our business anyway, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I get a lot of agencies that come to me because, oh, you sold your agency, I also want to sell mine. And so there's an attraction there, and I get that. It's a shiny thing. I didn't sell my agency for millions of dollars. It wasn't life-changing money. Had I done some of those things that you just mentioned earlier on in my agency, that could have been a different story. Yeah. And so I tell owners, like, let's get under the hood. Let's see what's going on, and let's set it up to be an attractive business. And you might just find that it's running so well and you're making good money, you don't want to sell it, or, you can step back and allow it to continue to pay you, and, that kind of thing. So it just makes good sense.
I just had that conversation with an agency owner this morning. She called because she wanted to sell her agency. And so we did some math, and I was like, you're taking home, she's running a good shop and she's taking home a good chunk of change every year. I was like, with a few small tweaks, you could do this for another 5 years, sock that money away, and then sell it for X. And then honestly, you wouldn't have to work anymore. If you sell it for X today, you're young enough that you're going to have to do something else, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if you really want to not do anything else, then maybe you just keep doing the smart things you're doing. We do a couple other smart things, and, you're making bank for the next 5 years, tuck it all away, then sell it. And now you've got a great story to tell. That buyer's going to be thrilled that you were able to take that kind of money out for the last 5 years. And now you've got a viable product to sell that is going to make you more money than if you sell it today. But, to your point, normally when an agency owner gets ready to sell, they're ready to be done. And so, and valuations go back 5 years. So you can't start 12 months before you want to walk out the door and think that anything you're going to do is going to have a huge impact on the price tag, because it just isn't. You really do have to start a minimum of 3 to 5 years back. And if you're smart, you're starting at least a decade back.
Yeah. I don't think many agencies have the forethought to say, all right, where do I want to be in 10 years? They're not guided to think that far ahead. It's intimidating to think that far ahead, no matter how old they are, especially as quickly as the world is changing around us. Like, beyond 5 years is just, absolutely insane to think about.
But if you think about it, what we're talking about is all behind the curtain. It's all back of the house stuff. So we're really talking about running your business like a business, which is what you and I talk to our clients about every single day, but making some tweaks in how you run that business so that it's more attractive to a buyer, which, by the way, benefits you all along the way. So it may be that in 10 years, you want to keep it for another 10 years. Well, great. You've just built a better machine to keep for 10 years. It may be in 10 years, you want to gift it to one of your kids. Fine. You're gifting them a better, more viable business. It may be in 10 years, you want to sell it to your employees or you want to just shut the door. It doesn't matter. The pursuit of building something sellable benefits you all along the way. And it just means you have more choices at the end of the road. So it's different than what, if somebody said to me, what do you think agencies are going to sell to clients in 10 years? I would be like, other than strategy, I don't know, right? I have no idea what we'll be doing. But in terms of like what makes a good business viable and sellable, that's not going to change as much. And so that, I think, even the most sort of weary, leery agency owner can think about and start making decisions about, even if they're not sure what the future on the front end, on the client end, on the sales end is going to be. You still have to have the right chassis for your business to run on. Yep. So build a good chassis now.
Yeah. Those core principles, they will always be valuable. Yeah.
Right.
All right, I'm going to flip gears and throw a couple of random rapid fire questions at you to wrap up the 25-ish minutes. So first is, if you could only eat one ballpark snack at every Dodgers game, what would it be?
Cracker Jacks.
Awesome. What's a book that you've reread more than once because it keeps giving you new insights?
Radical Leap by Steve Farber.
Great book. Awesome. Mm-hmm. And then finally, what's one piece of quote unquote common agency wisdom that you think owners should actually ignore?
I guess I would say probably that the agency wisdom that they often hear is that they should go for the quick sale. And I think they should say no to more opportunities than they say yes to in terms of clients. I think it's so easy to go for the sale. And oftentimes they have that spidey sense that I'm not going to make money on this, or these people are going to be a pain in the rear end or whatever, but it's not all about the sale. And in fact, here's what it is. It's not about the new sale. It's about selling more to your existing clients. If we would focus on selling more to existing clients with half the energy we spend on chasing after strangers to give us $1, we would all be super rich.
Yeah, I love that. Both of those I think are super valuable. Listen to their gut more. Stop ignoring those red flags because I'm afraid the next one's not going to come in. Keep doing the process. The next one will be there, but also spend far more time growing accounts than chasing new, land and expand. So nailed it. I love it. Drew, I am super grateful for this friendship that we've developed and your time today and you sharing so much experience that you've, gathered over the years of working with so many agencies. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
it was
fun.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.